Coming to you from the Big Island of Hawaii, it's the Songs and Stories Podcast. And now, here's your host, Steve Roby.
Aloha, I'm Steve Roby. Welcome to another episode of Songs and Stories. It's a weekly show where we interview Big Island musicians and discuss their music. On today's episode, my guest is Scott Reagan, lead singer and frontman for the classic rock band Bottle of Blue. Welcome, Scott.
Hey, Steve. How are you?
I'm doing good. It's good to hear your voice.
It's great to hear yours. Thanks so much for having me. This is it's really great. You know, as always, I know myself and everybody else in the local music community here really appreciate you and Big Island Music Magazine for keeping everybody in the know and keeping us all connected, especially in days like these.
Yeah, indeed. Thank you. We've got a variety of topics to discuss today, but I first want to start out with when was it that you first became interested in music and then wanted to make it a career?
Well, you know, I've really been interested in music my whole life. I will have to say, I guess the root of that is, you know, when I was a young boy, I was in the Catholic Church with my family. And I really say, I guess it has to go back to, you know, hearing the church all sing together and you know, standing in the pew with my grandmother and really hearing her, you know, have such an enthusiastic way of singing the hymns and really being interested in that. And then soon after joining the choir, I was in the choir for a few years. And then, you know, as a young man in high school, I tried desperately to get a band going and things. And I guess now realizing it just wasn't the right time for me. Years later, moving to Hawaii, I actually stumbled into an open mic night one night and, you know, kind of got the courage to get up on stage and sing a couple of tunes and realized how much I loved performing in front of people, and it had been a long time. Of course, I'm one of those people. My father called me motor mouth as a kid. It was hard to shut up. So if I wasn't talking, I was singing, and I loved to mimic the different voices that I heard on the radio growing up, different styles of music and singing, you know, learning different ways of singing. If I wasn't singing, I was whistling or maybe practicing, you know, mimicking horns and things like that. So kind of always making noises, always very interested in it. And then, you know, like I said, after moving here and getting into that open mic night, I was actually asked if I wanted to be a part of kind of the hosting band for the open mic night, but the venue shut down to remodel and then never reopened. But then after that, shortly I ran into a couple of friends and ended up forming Bottle of Blue, getting things going that originally started down south with Marion Garishot and Dan Carippo. We got things going and started gigging in the Kona scene, gigging all over the Big Island, trying to build things up. And and that's kind of when I realized, like, oh my gosh, I can actually do something I love and make a few dollars at it. This is fantastic. How do I get more of that?
Tell our listeners who's in the band, what do they play, and how long have you guys been together officially as a group?
Okay, well, Bottle of Blue has been around since the end of November in 2013. We have certainly had a lot of musicians and band members kind of come and go over the years. We grew from a 3-piece to a full 5-piece after recording an album. You know, everybody kind of, you know, musicians are you know, growing and changing and things move and adjust. So currently in the band as it is today, myself, I do lead vocals and some occasional rhythm guitar. On lead guitar, we have Steve Fundy from the Pahoa side of the island. Very, very talented guy. We're really enjoying having him be a part of the band. We've got Dave Ojeda on bass. He's been with the band for years now. And Noah Eads is on drums. Very gifted drummer and an amazing person. And David Marcus Miller rounds out the group playing keys and helping with production and all kinds of stuff. So we're still pressing on, you know, really concentrating on vocals, kind of, you know, as you change and bring in different members of the band, the characteristic of the band will tend to kind of grow and change and move. So, you know, we're moving with that and enjoying working together and just really having a great time, always trying to perfect our craft. So,
yeah. Well, besides the classic rock favorites that the crowd enjoys, you also have some originals too, and you've got a few albums out as well, right?
Well, we have the one album that came out back in 2015. Yeah, we really love to do the original music, and that's really what we've been kind of focusing on recently, and getting ready to release some new music that we're very, very excited about. We're lucky enough to have always had songwriters in the band. And as much as I love doing covers and giving my renditions and paying homage to some of my favorite bands and songs, there's really nothing like creating original music and bringing that out for people to hear and enjoy.
What's it been like during the pandemic, these very unusual times for the band, yourself, trying to keep busy music-wise? Have you gotten back into the studio? Have you written some new material?
Yes, actually. We've written new material. We've gotten into the studio and recorded a few things. We're working our way towards another album. So we've started recording some material. We've got other material we're getting ready to go back into the studio and continue working on. And that's really been, I guess, our main focus while the pandemic's been happening, because of course, when the venue shut down, we all patiently waited. We got used to the new 21st century way of practicing over the internet together, which was a challenge in the beginning. We've found some great applications online and have been successful in continuing good rehearsals online. But really, the original music, I found myself, in the beginning of the situation, when we were all just kind of taking a little bit of a break, I found myself writing to kind of deal with what was going on. Because I had time, I got to start revisiting some of the song ideas that have been kind of sitting in the vault for a while. Yeah. And I noticed that originally we started and said, well, when this pandemic is over, we're going to come back to the scene with a whole bunch of new songs. So we started working on learning new covers. And then I think when we started realizing, I don't know how quickly this is going to come back, maybe we should shift gears and start working on some of these originals if we have the time. So that's really what we've been focusing on, and it's so rewarding.
Well, good. You sent over a sample of some tracks that are still in the working stages, early stages of being completed. And one of those, and by the way, I really enjoyed them. Even
Great.
though
Thank you.
they're kind of, early incubations of what can come. And I think our listeners enjoy that too, of just seeing the development of these tracks and what the final product will be. So thank you for sharing these exclusive tracks with us.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate, being able to get them out there for people to hear. And that's really what we write music for, to be able to share that with others and hopefully spark some emotions and maybe some insights.
The first one we're going to play is called Seatbelt. Tell us about this one.
Well, it's been an interesting journey with this song. I think that I originally wrote this really as kind of a vent. The situation with the current leadership, or I guess lack thereof, with what's going on in the world. And I know this isn't a politically minded podcast, but, I really wrote this song, like I said, originally it was meant to vent. It was, I really struggle, getting up. Of course, you want to be informed, especially with the way things are in the world. And I just found myself getting more and more frustrated. And so I thought, well, I've got to write something to get some of these emotions out. And my original plan was just to do a recording of myself singing and playing guitar and kind of throw it on Facebook and get it out there for people. And maybe they get a snicker out of it or be able to emote a little bit along with me. And then I ended up playing it for the band, and the band really liked it. And so we started playing it as a band and developing it more as a project in that manner. And watching the song grow and have everybody else contribute to it was really, really great. And so, just being able to, like I said, get that out there. And as we all know, some of the best music comes out of times of strife and things, big things going on in the world. I mean, gosh, all of the music from the 70s that came out in the Vietnam War era and things like that, those are some of the classics that stick with everybody. So I think this was a way for me to deal with what was going on and get it out there in song. So
it's a good way to document these times there. So Seatbelt is kind of telling us to buckle up.
Yes, kind of a PSA, if you will.
Okay. Well, good. Well, thanks for that. I'm sure everybody will appreciate that. Let's give a listen to that now. This is Bottle of Blue doing Seatbelt here on Songs and Stories.
Buckle your seatbelt, devil's at the wheel. Desperate is how this makes me feel. Blowing all the red lights and the tires squeal. Put your seatbelt on, 'cause the devil's at the wheel. Gonna be one hell of a ride. Orange sunsets on a thin red line. His hands are dirty, sleight of hand just happening all the while. Well, his team is full, but that can change anytime. Flying by the seat of his pants, that dastardly mastermind. Buckle your seatbelt, seatbelt. Devil's at the wheel. These dead-end streets, man, so real. I don't know how this can even be real. Put your seatbelt on, 'cause the devil's at the wheel. In a crooked line, he thinks he's got it. He doesn't notice his number's coming in time. Let's take the keys, grab at the wheel. At the hairpin curve, we'll make the steal. Don't give into the fight, don't accept the hype, 'cause we've been great the whole time. Buckle your seatbelt, seatbelt. The devil's at the wheel. Terrible, angry is how this makes me feel. Most times I still don't know how it can even be real. Well, put your seatbelt on, people, 'cause the devil's at the wheel. Buckle your seatbelt, seatbelt. The devil's at the wheel. Terrible, angry is how this makes me feel. I still don't even know how this shit can even be real. Put your seatbelts on, people, 'cause the devil's at the wheel. Lord, the devil's at the wheel. Devil's at the wheel. Devil's at the wheel. The devil's got the wheel. Devil's got the wheel. Devil's got the wheel. I don't really wanna know. I don't really wanna know. The devil's at the wheel. I don't really wanna know. I don't really wanna know. The devil's at the wheel. I don't really wanna know. I don't really wanna know. The devil's at the wheel. I don't really wanna know. I don't really wanna know. The devil's at the wheel. Buckle your seatbelt, seatbelt. The devil's at the the wheel. Buckle your seatbelt. The devil's at the wheel. Buckle your seatbelt. The devil's at the wheel. Buckle your seatbelt. 'Cause the devil's at the wheel. Orange sun, thin red line. Has this reality even been mine? I put my seatbelt on. Hang on, people.
Hey, how's it going, everyone? This is Michael Supernaut with Mana Music and Media Productions, and you're listening to the Songs and Stories podcast with Stephen Roby. Please visit our website, manamusicandmedia.com, and learn more about our broadcast quality audio, video, and photography production services. manamusicandmedia.com.
Did you know that you can also find Songs and Stories episodes on our website, bigislandmusic.net? The online magazine has been covering the music scene since 2017, and there's lots of great content, including interviews, reviews, and video performances too. Head over to bigislandmusic.net to find out more.
Well, if you talk to the average teenager of today and you ask them what it is about rock and roll music that they like, and the first thing they'll say is the beat, the beat, the beat, the beat, the beat.
Ready, go! Prepare yourself. Okay, let's go.
And we're back on Songs and Stories with my guest, Scott Reagan. In addition to Bottle of Blue, you also have Rocket and Rise Productions, which brought the island many great concerts like Six String Fling, which I enjoyed so much, and what a fun event. Can you talk about that? And are there plans to bring it back when concerts eventually return?
Yeah, sure. Well, I certainly hope so. Rocket and Rise really came out of a desire to be able to do something more. We all love going down to the local clubs and the parks and things like that and see, the music events and the gigs that were consistently happening around the island. But I really wanted to be able to do something a little bit bigger than that. I wanted to be able to kind of give the audience more of what they were hoping for. We all have that picture in our mind of going to the rock concert and seeing the band and the pyrotechnics and the lighting and the smoke and the fog and all of that kind of stuff. And so I really wanted to try to bring some of that, bring a little bit of a fresh take to the Big Island and be able to bring people some of that kind of, I guess you could call it kind of mainland concert going experience. Yeah. So my partner, Shelly Rise, and I decided that, we wanted to kind of get things going and work together. I had put on some shows before in conjunction with other promoters and also just as Bottle of Blue. And it's a lot of work. It really is. It's very rewarding, but it's very demanding trying to put on these shows and bring the quality that I think we were all hoping for. We did. We worked through it. We learned what we needed to learn, kind of stumbling at times, but did our best. And I feel so fortunate to have so many other great musicians to work with. And the Six String Fling shows, like you mentioned, they were great. We did the first one. It was really a concept I had come up with, wanting to showcase different musicians here from the island and some of our best talent, but do it in a way that we could keep the show rolling, that we could keep the audience engaged. And I know I've been part of other music festivals and bigger shows, which are always wonderful, but there's always, unfortunately, a lot of downtime between acts trying to keep the show rolling. And so my idea was to format it where instead of changing the whole band, you were just changing one player. And that would allow us to be able to keep that flow happening. So, those are kind of some of the I guess the mission behind Rocket and Rise was to grow that experience. I certainly hope that after the dust settles from all of what's been going on, that we can bring more shows to the Big Island, because we do absolutely love it. We love being able to do this and get the reaction from the audience goers that you can tell that they had that experience that you were hoping that they would. And that is a really, really big gift for us to be able to do that. And it is hard to see right now. We don't know when the big venues will be open again. We were supposed to, 4th of July, we were hoping to reopen. It was called Privateers Cove. It's now under new management. And we were planning to have a nice 4th of July celebration there. And unfortunately, because of the conditions of what was going on, civil defense didn't allow it. So we're now kind of waiting to see when that comes back around. I know that the people here are chomping at the bit to get back to that kind of thing. And we certainly would love to bring it back to them when the world allows. So we are hoping. We still have ideas left over from before we would love to execute. So we'll keep our fingers crossed collectively.
We'll have to see what 2021 brings us. I think we're all hoping for the best, but who knows when the restart period will begin. But just kind of circling back for a minute on Six String Fling, can you mention some of the names locally of the guitar players that you featured?
Yes, certainly. Well, in Bottle of Blue, we of course featured Dan Carippo, our lead guitar player for many years, who was able to finally do a nice set of his original music. We were so glad to be able to showcase. He's an excellent writer and an amazing performer. We also featured Steve Fundy, who, like I said, is now the lead guitar player in the band. We had Colin John, the amazing Trans-Pacific Blues man. We had Larry Sire when he was still here on island with us, an absolutely amazing, award-winning, talented guy. Larry Dupio, Lightning Larry Dupio, who you just did a podcast with. He joined us. Tommy Asobi, just an amazing guy and an unbelievable guitar player. Catch him whenever you can. And let's see, I hope I'm not... of course, David Lawrence, graced us with his... The always ripping David Lawrence graced us with his enthusiastic presence.
David Lawrence.
No, you can't. You can't. What a great friend, an amazing musician, so entertaining to watch and be around, And I hope I'm not forgetting anybody, because, everybody was just so gracious and wonderful to work with, and everybody worked so hard. And I know that I asked a lot of Bottle of Blue to be a house band and kind of back all of these guitar players, and everybody stepped up and really did their work to learn the music, and it was just wonderful. And after the first one that we did, the response was so amazing, and we were fortunate enough to get the demand and be able to take it to the east side of the island and have the second Six String Fling, and both well attended, both extremely well received. And I've been asked many, many times when we are going to do it again. And I would love to do it again. It's on my list. I would love to feature a whole new cast of guitar players. Because, that certainly was not the extent of talent that we have here on the island. We're, again, so blessed. So we'll have to see. I would love to have another installment of the Six String Fling someday.
Well, I think our overseas listeners and our mainland listeners who've never been to the island don't really realize or appreciate that we are, due to the way the landscape is on this island, we are spread out. I mean, if you do a show in Kona, folks from Hilo don't want to travel that distance to get there and travel back home this next night.
Right.
And the same thing in Hilo, you don't want to travel from Kona. So to do a major production like you did with Six String Fling, you've got to do it at several full-scale venues here on the island.
Sure.
And you did it at 3, which may not sound like a big thing to somebody who's never been to the island, but to cover the venues that we have, the large-scale venues that we have, was quite a feat, and my hat is off to you, sir.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Logistically, it was quite a thing. It's one thing. I live on the Kona side, so it's one thing to pack up the car and drive 6 or 8 miles down the road. It certainly is another thing to drive to the other side of the island and just pray that you didn't forget anything.
Because there are no electronic or music stores open much anymore, let alone after 5 or 6 o'clock at night. So you can't roll into Radio Shack or a Best Buy or something like that to pick up an extra XLR cable or something like that.
Exactly. And the venues are all great to work with, but the venues here, we don't really have a lot of large scale, as you say, dedicated music venues. So a lot of the venues we're using are theaters that do a lot of theatrical productions. And so while they're typically fairly well stocked on equipment, you just always hope. It's always like, your fear is going to need that one cable or that one adapter that nobody seems to have. And you certainly don't want to pull an entire production like that to its knees because of one small thing. But we were so fortunate. And like I said, everybody was so generous with their time and with their spirit. And it just was such a rewarding, they've all been such rewarding experiences. They really, really have. And of course, the big thing is the audience. You really do all of that work hoping that those people in the audience, you're creating memories. I mean, we certainly have all of our memories from performing on stage and that camaraderie, between the musicians. But we really do it for the audience. We do it for those folks to create memories and have those times that they're going to tell their friends about. And they're going to say, oh, you didn't make that show. You've got to go to the next one. It was fantastic. And, so we can keep the whole ball rolling.
Well, let's jump back into the music.
Sure.
And another new track you sent us is called Roll With It. Tell me about this one.
Well, this is actually a kind of a blues rock inspired song that I wrote probably, 4 or 5 years ago. And I would say that I originally wrote it. I'm a big fan, obviously, of rock and roll and of blues music. And I kind of wanted to write a song that was kind of me living vicariously through the eyes of a different personality type. I'm a very grounded, very committed kind of person in my personal and daily life. But I kind of thought, what would it be like to be one of those people that's just kind of living fast and out there for the moment and doesn't want to be tied down in any way. They're just kind of on a roll and they're out there, and they're also, they don't want to apologize for the way they are. I didn't want to, of course, make it rude or brash, but it's really about somebody that just, is kind of on their own course, doing their own thing, going from town to town, experiencing things, moving on. And I wanted to have something with a nice, good guitar riff to it, something that everybody could dance to and enjoy. And so I'm very proud of this song. It's been through a few different iterations, but I think it's really kind of come back to the closest to the root of how I always wanted the song to be, just that kind of gritty, in-your-face rock and roll.
All right.
Yeah.
I can't wait to play it. Here's Roll With It by Bottle of Blue on Songs and Stories.
Hey, Big Island music fans. Would you like to be part of the podcast? If you go to our website, bigislandmusic.net, you can record a comment about the show or tell us about a musician you'd like to see interviewed. Just click on the microphone icon and start recording. Don't forget to tell us where you're located. Your comments might be included in a future podcast. So head over to bigislandmusic.net. We'd love to hear from you.
Hey, how's it? It's your man, Lil Paca Roots. Thank you for listening to the Songs and Stories podcast with Stephen Roby. You can find my music on Spotify, Pandora, Apple Music, Amazon Music, YouTube, and as well as all other musical streaming platforms. You can also find me, Lil Paca Roots with a Z, on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. And you can find some of my music coming up soon. I'm living my best life, yeah.
If you enjoy the Songs and Stories podcast, we'd love for you to subscribe, rate, and give a review on iTunes. Be sure to visit bigislandmusic.net to join the conversation, access the show notes, and discover our fantastic bonus content. Now, back to the show.
This is Songs and Stories, and our guest today is Scott Reagan, lead singer with Bottle of Blue. Scott, let's talk about your new project called Blind Side.
Yeah, well, this is an idea that I've had for years. I have always been a huge fan of kind of, I guess, genre blending bands. I remember back in the early 90s living in New England, and it was kind of a time where funk was almost making a bit of a revival. You had all of these bands that were kind of on the grunge side, but they started bringing in all of this funk and blues and horn sections and elements of jazz, and I loved it. I absolutely loved it, and I've always been a big fan of bands that kind of do that cross lines and bring things together. So I started kind of imagining this idea of bringing together a lot of my musical influences, which I grew up on, early pop music and classic rock, and even a little couple of flavors of country here and there. But then also the early hip hop scene. I was really taken with a lot of the early hip hop bands and the early sounds. And I've always been a big fan of electronic music as well. Wow. So really what I've been thinking about, like I said, for years, I've had this idea brewing of if I could bring in hip hop style beats, specifically, I love a lot of the old 808 beats and things like that from the early days. So I wanted to combine that with some of the elements of modern electronic music, a lot of the synthesizers and sampling, but also keep that flavor of the rock and roll and blues that I love so much. And I wanted to find a way to combine those elements and be able to bring something new that would also kind of cross age groups and musical tastes. And, maybe I could find somebody that didn't traditionally like what they called techno or a lot of the old ideas of electronic music. Maybe something that would grab somebody like that and go, well, gosh, I like the sound of that guitar, and I guess that beat's pretty catchy, or vice versa. Somebody that is, maybe younger and maybe has more, contemporary music sensibilities, maybe bring some ideas to them that they hadn't thought of before. Right. And so, like I said, this was an idea that is kind of brewing in the back of my mind for a long time. And I started putting some things together and working with David Marcus Miller in the band. He's a very talented producer and engineer and an amazing musician and just an unbelievably great guy. And so he started working with me on the first track that I was putting together for this project. And we started talking, and I realized, I think that we both quickly realized that we would be much stronger doing this together. So kind of the focus is we're partnering on the music, bringing some of these ideas to light. And it's also an idea that even though we are the core two of Blind Side, we also want to feature lots of great artists to bring them in to add to these tracks.
Okay.
Yeah. So the first tune we were working on is a cover of Wilbert Harrison's "Let's Work Together." I've always been a huge fan of that song, and of course, I think probably most people know the Canned Heat version. That's probably the most successful version, but a bunch of artists have covered it, and I thought it's about time to bring that song back into the public eye, especially with everything that's been going on in the world. And of course, that idea came to me even before the pandemic hit. We can always use to be more cooperative and to bridge gaps in the world. And unfortunately, right now, it seems like a lot of those gaps are getting wider. So I wanted to bring the song back into people's sight, introduce it to people who maybe were not familiar with the song, and also do my best. Now, I personally love Wilbert Harrison. I love his version, the original version of the song. So I wanted to kind of keep essences of what he did, what his original intention was with the flavor of the song, and of course the message, but bring a new style and put it out there in a way that would allow fresh ears, or like I said, people who have heard it before to go, wow, that's really interesting. I love that song, and this is a really cool whole new way to do it.
All right.
So,
we'll close the show out with "Let's Work Together." Talking about Blindside, the long-term vision of it. Do you plan to put out a full album of Blindside material, or?
I hope so. We've talked about several things. I have a couple of ideas in mind. The reason I started with a cover was to really try to hone the sound, knowing that part, the blueprint of the song, was kind of already there. And then let's take that and see what we can do. But we've actually also been working on a Blindside version of Seatbelt. And that we're fortunate enough to Lopaka Roots just came in and laid down some really great guitar tracks for us.
Wow.
So we're mixing that and putting that together. But yes, we want to do covers and original music in that sound. And I am hoping to probably get a few singles out there. In fact, Let's Work Together and Seatbelt should hopefully be out hopefully within the next couple of weeks.
Nice.
And we're working on the Facebook page and promotional to introduce everybody to what Blindside is all about. But yeah, that's our hopes. We want to get some things out there, and I also have kind of a tribute project in mind with that new sound as well. So I'm really going to kind of see where it takes us, but I'm very, very excited about it and really excited to see one of my ideas come to fruition.
That's great.
Yeah. So it should be fun, and I'm really looking forward to seeing where it goes.
Well, Scott, what's the best way for folks to find your music and follow you on social media and keep up with all these new projects you've got going on?
Sure. Well, you can go to bottleofblueband.com. That'll take you right to the band's Facebook page. And so you can find out what we're up to. We are currently playing once a month at Laverne's. We play first Saturdays down there at Laverne's. Laverne's is always doing such a great job of, keeping everybody safe and keeping everybody having a great time. And right now, a lot of the other venues that we would normally be playing are still either not opened back up, or they're, cautiously opening, trying to get things going. So right now, Laverne's is our one venue that we are playing, but you can keep in touch with our schedule and know what's going on, and give us a shout, send us a message and say hi. We love to hear from everybody.
Yeah.
So that's it for Bottle of Blue. Like I said, the Blindside Facebook page should hopefully be up within the next week. We really want to start letting people know what we're doing and what they can expect to see from us, and open that platform up so they can be ready to hear the new music as soon as it comes out. And Rocket and Rise Productions is also on Facebook. Obviously, the page has been a little quiet because we don't have any upcoming events right now, but I will say on behalf of myself and Shelley that we really have appreciated everybody's support, and we certainly hope to get back to bringing you some great shows and great music. And I know everybody at Bottle of Blue has been loving getting back out there and playing for people and seeing folks. And we love all of our fans and friends. And that's what's been going on there. And of course, you can find Bottle of Blue music on YouTube and Apple Music. The original album, Big Horizon, is available on iTunes and Amazon and CD Baby. And then the new music, like I said, Bottle of Blue's version of Seatbelt should hopefully be released very soon. And Blindside's version of Seatbelt and also Let's Work Together should be available very soon as well. I'm going to keep everybody updated online and on social media about that. So we appreciate everybody's support.
You're a busy guy.
Yeah, I have a hard time slowing down, but I really do what I do because I love to benefit the folks around me and keep that sense of community going. And you know what they say about idle hands, so we don't need any of that.
Right. Okay. I'll be sure to put some links in the show description for this episode of the podcast below, so folks can easily find you and what the music is and what you're up to next. Is there anything else you'd like to add that we didn't cover before we close out?
Well, again, I wanted to say thank you so much to you, and Big Island Music Magazine has just been such a fantastic, resource for everybody to have. I know that, Uma's columns have been really great. Everything that you've done, all of the show reviews and the scheduling and things, it's such a huge help because I know that, it's hard to promote a band. It's a lot of work, and we all do it because we love it, but having people help us in that and having a forum for people to be able to access it, enjoy it, comment on it, share it, things like that helps all the more. And so I just want to say, thank you again to you. Thank you to all of the great musicians, everybody out there working so hard. And thanks to Sage Sounds and Kiernan Music and, all of the venues we've played in the past. And, so thanks again. Appreciate you and appreciate everybody out there so much.
Well, mahalo, Scott, and thanks for being a guest on today's show. Yes. And aloha.
Aloha to you.
Here's Let's Work Together by Blindside on Songs and Stories.
Together we will stand, divided we will fall. patience and love. We gotta spread the joy. That's right. You know you all want it. I want it too. Join me. Together we will stand. Divided we'll fall. That's right.
Thanks for listening to the Songs and Stories podcast. Make sure you never miss a show by clicking the subscribe button now. This podcast is made possible by listeners like you. Thank you for your support. We'll see you next week on Songs and Stories. Aloha.